Hi, my name is Jen Mark, and I'm from Dynamic Living Sports Injury Clinic and Personal Training Studio. This is our 7th episode in our series on strengthening, and we will be doing core strengthening today. Before we get started, I want to make sure that you have informed and have consent from your doctor to exercise. As well, if you're already seeing an athletic therapist for a current injury, make sure that it's okay that you do these exercises before you get started. Or if you have any pain or discomfort during the exercises, to consult your therapist before you continue. So when we start talking about core strengthening, which is my favorite, we need to address the pelvic floor. That's your real core, where your strength and stability comes from, not really the big rectus abdominis muscles or the oblique muscles. They're not your deep core muscles. They're your big moving muscles. So the best way to learn about activating those deep pelvic floor muscles is to talk to your athletic therapist, or call me, talk to me, email me about ways that we can get together to work on your deep pelvic floor muscles if you think that they're weak or if you experience a lot of back pain. I'm going to give you an exercise first that will help for you to really get into your pelvic floor and start to get it activated. So all you need to do is lie down on your back with your feet on the floor. You'll put your hands right on your pelvis bone, so the bones that sort of stick out right in through there, wherever you find them, okay? And we're going to be moving our knees from one side to the other, so we'll be alternating back and forth. That's the important part for the stability, not just continuing to do the same one over and over again, okay? What my goal here is to keep my pelvis absolutely still. It can't move while my legs move. That's your real core stability, okay? When I'm moving my right knee and when I drop it, I want to make sure I'm not putting any pressure on the opposite pelvis, okay? If I do it wrong and I'm unstable, I'll drop my hip and you'll see that this pelvis lifts right up, this side of my pelvis drops down. So again, if I was sloppy, my whole pelvis will tip, this side will push into my hand. If I'm doing it correctly, I can move this leg without putting any pressure on this pelvis. I come back up to the middle without putting any pressure on. Now when I use the left one, I'm not allowed to lift up and roll. I have to stay absolutely still through my pelvis and not put any pressure on this pelvis, this side of my pelvis. You'll alternate back and forth with keeping no pressure on your hands, keeping your pelvis absolutely still. While you're doing that, it's a good tactical feedback way for you to know what you're doing. You're working all these pelvic floor muscles, which will help when you go to work the big muscles. When we're talking about the core, we can't just focus on the front muscles, we have to focus on the back as well. They work together in a system, so we have to work them in a system, okay? So a great exercise for that is Superman's, which is also called bird dogs. So some people might recognize it under that name. In this position, we need to make sure that your wrists are right underneath your shoulders and that your knees are right underneath each hip. So I don't want your knees out here or back, and we certainly don't want this position, okay? Just a nice tabletop, right like that, okay? So if you're brand new to core strengthening, you might want to practice just reaching one arm and then another arm without moving and shifting your pelvis. So without doing any of this motion or that motion. Practice with your hands first. Once you have your hands, you can then practice just one leg at a time, out and back in again, without moving your pelvis, without having to shift and come up that way and twisting and rolling. We want to stay nice and stable. Straight up and back down, straight up and back down, okay? When you've mastered those without moving, you can do both at the same time. The body works in a diagonal, so you'll use your left arm and right leg, right arm and left leg. So you're going to work in opposites, out and back down again, without shifting, and back down again. Watch you don't come too high because you'll see my back really starts to arch. I want to stay nice and solid so that my arms and legs are moving without my pelvis moving. That's your real core stability. So another popular exercise, now that you have your core stability, is to work all the big core muscles and work them all at the same time. We no longer do sit-ups or a lot of crunches. It's too much flexion for the back, and we're not getting the whole core, the whole system to work together. We need the whole body to be moving in unison. So a great way, and what most of my clients love, are planks. And there's a variety of different planks that you can do that are moving your arms and your legs. I'm going to show you a few of them. Some of them are harder than others. So the first one I want to show you is just a regular plank. So you're, just like we had with our Supermans, our shoulder is on top of our elbow, our hips are in line with our shoulders, and your feet and your legs are straight. You can have your feet together, or you can have your feet further apart, whatever you feel more comfortable with. It's harder with your feet together, okay? So that's just your basic plank, and there's many different ways of going about making that harder. So the first thing I want to show you is moving your arms while you're holding that plank. So you can move this arm and come underneath, back up to straight again, move this arm underneath, again, without moving that pelvis too much. Just getting a twist through the upper body, leaving your pelvis still. One more you can do with your knees this time is when you're in your plank position, bring your knee around to the outside without moving your pelvis. So you're not coming up here because I'm not staying stable. Just flexing the hip and the knee, keeping your pelvis still. So I have two more exercises for you. One again is using the mat, and the next one will be using the stability ball, planks again. So walking planks are probably the most fun out of all planks. So starting off in your plank position, keeping your pelvis nice and still, let me recommend that you spread your feet apart a little bit more so your base of support is wider when you're first starting out. You're going to be coming up onto your hands, so each hand will land in the same place that your elbow was. Coming up, right where my elbows were, coming back down with the same hand, up and down. So many on that side, maybe 10. Switch sides. Good, and again, you're watching that you're not flip-flopping your pelvis around. One common mistake I see is that, which is very stressful for the shoulder, hand right where your elbow was. So those are walking planks. The last thing I want to show you is with the stability ball. When you're doing a plank on the stability ball, nothing changes. Your shoulder is still on top of your elbow, okay? And your hips and your shoulders and your ankle bone are all still in alignment, okay? The best thing I like to get into your plank is to be on your feet, put your hands on the ball where you want them, one foot out, make sure you're set, other foot out, okay? This is how you're doing your plank on your ball, okay? Once that feels pretty comfortable and pretty easy, and you can hold it as long as you can, try for a minute or two, then you can start to get in to moving the ball back and forth, moving our arms without moving our body. Back into your plank, moving the ball in and out without moving your body. So without falling, without collapsing or twisting, and not coming too far underneath, just to the shoulder, forwards and backwards. And that's it for our 7th episode on core strengthening. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me at www.dynamicliving.me or 647-351-8888. 2649. Have a good day.